What's up, you guys? Welcome back to Plant Space. I haven't made a video in a really long time and I am excited to be sitting down right now. Let's just jump right into what the video is about. The video is about starting over. Starting over is one of the most powerful things you can honestly do, but it's also like really fucking hard, and it's not easy, y'all. Like, it's a lot. But that doesn't mean it's impossible. That doesn't mean it's like, I'm not gonna lie and say that it's not overwhelming. It can be very overwhelming, but I mean, you gotta do what you gotta do and you gotta jump, you know what I mean? Like, you can't let that keep you from doing what you want to do. So I honestly feel like I've started over since I was like a kid, because growing up, I would have my mom, like, we've moved. I wouldn't say that I moved in a way that was like my siblings probably got I think my siblings got more of an experience moving around than I necessarily did. When I was moving a lot, I was already a teen, and I don't really feel like that really impacted me. I mean, I'm sure it did, but let me kind of explain. So, I only went through a few big moves when I was like a child. The first one, I think I was in 4th grade. I moved from Arlington, Texas to Arizona for 3 months. We hated it. We moved right on back. But that wasn't really traumatizing. It was kind of exciting. It was fun. I got to step out of this reality and go to a whole new reality. It felt like a TV show. I thought it was really fun. I got to be a part of a whole new community. I got to meet people. Obviously, some people were cool, some people sucked. It ultimately was not a good experience. I did not like it, but it didn't traumatize me in any way. It was just life, you know? We kept it pushing, and then we moved back. Moving back, we were in Arlington, Texas for a while until I moved to El Paso my sophomore year of high school. That also was a really big move, but it really wasn't like super dramatic for me because we wanted the fresh start. I just really wasn't down on I think one of the important things with starting over is that when you are in a place like I was my freshman year of high school where things are just not going well, I won't really get much into it because it was like just a lot. There was just a lot going on. I wasn't making good decisions. I was very easily going to go down a very negative path, and I didn't necessarily see a reason in staying. So I talked to my parents. My parents had their own reasons for not seeing a reason in staying. My siblings were not necessarily against leaving. They were like, yeah, fuck it, let's go. So we did. We started over. It was a lot. It took, honestly, like 2 years to really like get settled and like be in a good position. There was a lot that we went through, but I think maybe that's why I'm desensitized to the chaos with starting over, because every single time that I was faced with adversity as a child, I had my entire family, like my mom, my dad, my siblings. We were together, we kept it pushing, we made it work, we just were always okay. We always ultimately had somewhere to sleep, we always ultimately had something to eat, and we were always together. So at the end of the day, everything was always good. Morphing into being an adult, I just never really thought about the fear outweighing the desire of leaving. I moved out to LA when I was 17 years old. I had just graduated high school. I think it was only like 2 weeks, and then I was out of there. People tend to be really shocked when I talk about it, but I didn't necessarily think it was something extraordinary because the school that I got to, everybody else was telling the same tale. They were 17, 18, just graduated high school, or maybe they took the summer and then here they were. Actually, they couldn't have taken the summer because I was starting in the summer. So yeah, pretty much everybody had just graduated high school, or they had done like taken a whole year. But for the most part, we just graduated, and I didn't think anything of it. I was like, all right, bet, we're all here. And from that point on, I was really fortunate to be surrounded by people that were doing the same thing. When I moved to New York, it wasn't just me moving to New York. I was by myself, but I was with other people that were going through the same thing, so I didn't really think like, oh my gosh, this is so dramatic. Like, I was like, period. Like, let's do this thing, y'all. Like, we weren't a community. We weren't like, never once did any of them ever help me with like anything. We were friends. Like, we were there. We were at the same school. We were studying. We were training. I had like a friend. I'm not saying I didn't have like my own resources, but that group, we just went. We weren't resources to each other. We were just, it's complicated, but what I'm saying is that ultimately, like, I had to make the moves to go. Like, I had to do the paperwork, I had to get the job, I had to pay, I had to get up and work, I had to register, I had to figure everything out, and I did, because it was something that I wanted, and it was something I was willing to do what I had to do. And it was great. It was moving to New York and going through what I had to do, and all the hard work that it took to get me there was 1,000% worth it. Every single situation in my life, even this recent one. So I was in New York, I moved back to LA, and then recently I had to move from LA, and I am in Dallas right now, and it was a lot. I had to start over again. I didn't expect to start over, but even being forced to start over, I still see the benefits, and I don't regret it. I still think it was a great decision. Starting over ultimately gave me the chance to start over. I feel like I've been saying that word so many times, but it's true. Like, when you get to start over, it's such a fresh start. Nobody knows you. Nobody knows who you are, what you've done, what you brought to the table, the mistakes that you've made. And you don't have to tell anyone. I don't think it's right to go forward and like lie about who you are. But ultimately, if I made a mistake in the past and let's say I was a bad person, like let's just say I was a bad person and I made some bad mistakes and I just did what I did, which rings true. I was a kid when that rang true, so I don't really hold any emotion towards it, but been there, done that. Starting over, nobody knows you. If you genuinely feel bad and you genuinely want to grow past that, it can be really hard when you're in the same spot because everyone's like, yeah, right. Like, I remember what you did to her. Like, I remember what you did to him. Like, cap, there's no way you're being honest right now. Like, this is all, it's just not true. But when you remove yourself from a place that you've been at and everybody knows you and everybody knows what, you know, you are, etc., and you place yourself in a new situation where nobody has any idea who you are, girl, nobody knows you. Like, you can start from scratch. You allow yourself the opportunity to remove yourself from those mistakes and to grow because people hold on to resentment, which makes sense. I'm not saying like those people are invalid in the feelings that they're feeling. Whatever you did, ultimately, that's on you. But that isn't, you know, people have to grow. You have to move forward. You have to move on. And if you feel bad and you want to be a better person, starting over sometimes is great, and sometimes it doesn't have to be as dramatic as where I tend to be like, all right, let's go to another state, like let's flip the script. But I love it. I love flipping the script. It offers such an insane perspective because one, the culture shock I low-key live for because in the beginning it's like, I'm in shock, like this isn't the culture that I'm used to, and it either can be negative, it can either be positive. When I was in New York, it was really positive. I was like, wow, this is awesome. When I moved to LA, it was really positive. I was like, really stimulated, I loved it, like, it was great. When I went to Texas, it was pretty negative. I remember the first week I was here, and I was just like out and about, and I was surrounded by the community. It's a different community. When you're in LA and when you're in New York, majority people, not majority, but a good chunk of people care about their health, care about their well-being, care about their physical appearance. Like, overall, people care a lot more than here. And you can see that very quickly. And it freaked me out because I was like, dang, I don't see anybody within like a radius that seems to care about their well-being. I don't even care about like body shape, size, apparel, etc. Ultimately, I didn't see anyone that cared about their well-being. And that was crazy to me. I eat shit food. I drink, I turn up. That is not like ever an issue for me. Well, I don't want to say that. But what I'm saying is that ultimately I care about my well-being to an extent. You know what I mean? I'm going to do certain steps to make sure that like I'm healthy and that I'm pushing forward and that I'm being good. But being here, there's a lot of people that are like, it's God's will. If I'm taken out, I'm taken out. And I'm like, girl, no way. You just ate like a bag of Doritos for 16 consecutive years, swallowing liters of Coke, and then the surprise illness is God's will. Girl, please be so for real. That was your will. Like, you fully influenced that, but that's not where I live. The people where I live, I don't think that. Like, they are like, when God says it's time. Which I'm not even saying that's necessarily inaccurate. I'm just saying, like, I can't walk out into the street, get hit by a car, and then on my deathbed be like, well, God wanted that. But you walked into a car. Girl, I could go on to that topic for hours, but back to the topic of starting over. It's just great. I would just always be a firm believer that we are not meant to stay in one place. We are not meant to really like put our roots down. I mean, I don't want to say that. Like, there comes a time and a place where the roots will be rooted, but I don't think that's meant in your youth. I think we are meant to explore, to travel, to meet people, to take things in, to try food, to read stuff, hear stuff, see stuff, feel stuff. Like, I genuinely feel we are meant to go out and about and explore, and I genuinely don't want to move back to LA, and I genuinely don't want to move back to New York. I think about myself as a human, and I'm like, I've already been, you know, like, I think it's time to move forward and to move into someplace new and to start over, because I love the power of every city giving you another characteristics. As a kid, I grew up in Texas. So ultimately, I grew up in a red state. I grew up to be really thick-skinned. Like, I've been called every name under the sun, and I genuinely don't give a fuck now. Like, I am so unbothered these days, but that's because I grew up in Texas. Like, girl, I've heard so much worse. Like, you really gotta be creative to try to, like, strike a nerve. Or, you gotta hit me. Like, at this point, I mean, that's where I grew up. Like, where I grew up, people fought. I had to fight so many times as a kid, up until a teen. It's not things that I'm like, yeah, like, but I'm just saying, like, it's a reality. That's where I lived, that's what I had to grow up with, and that gave me a toughness that I know has helped me a lot in my life. Moving to LA, it's a really, really superficial place. Love LA, but it's a really fake place. You're constantly on this go, you're always performing, and that gave me this confidence. I literally feel like I can talk to anybody, I feel like I can walk into any room, I can walk in front of any camera, any crowd, any script, anything. I genuinely feel like I can do anything, and although I will be shitting my absolute life out, I can maintain a calm composure. I'll be cool, I'll be chilling, I will get it done. Even though inside, I'm like, but, oh well, you know what I mean? Like, I genuinely learned how to just fuck it in LA, because people are intimidating, and it's all about who you know out there. And when you do get an opportunity, you cannot fuck it up. Like, when I was hired to do a video with Brent Rivera, you are all of a sudden thrown into this group of people that you know and you've seen, and you want to do a good job, but you get one shot. It is so overwhelming, but ultimately, like, you practice, you worked hard, this is your moment, and you'll be fine. Just do it, you know? And I really did learn that in LA. Flashing over to New York, I really learned how to be hardworking and how to be resilient and how to just get it done. New York is a very, very hard place to live in. Like, it's snowing, it's raining, it's hot, it's windy, and you are like running through crowds, getting on the subway, there's water everywhere, it is expensive, you're working a lot, there's people everywhere, you're talking fast, you're being rude, but it's not rude because it's not personal. There's so many different layers that come with living in Manhattan, and I absolutely love it. I feel like it forced me to be really disciplined. Like, I can get up in the morning, I can walk if I have to, I can, like, being forced to take all these different transportations has made me numb. I don't want to take a bus. I'll jump on a bus if I have to. Depending on where I'm at, I don't want to take the train. I'll jump on the train if I have to. Most places, more often than not, I don't mind taking the train, but there is certain places in the country where I'm like, the train is not, this is not Subway, this is not Denver, like, it's giving sketch. But for the most part, I don't mind a train. Buses can be a lot. But either way, again, I've taken all kinds of transportation. To wrap everything up, because I could ramble on this topic for hours and hours and hours, starting over is incredibly difficult. It is not easy. It's not for the faint of heart, but it creates such a strong character. I can't tell you how. Every city invites something different. Every city invites different struggle, different chaos, different opportunity, both good and bad. But the thing is that through the bad and through the good, ultimately you will grow. Period. Like, every single situation I've ever been placed in that has been completely shit has made me grow as a human, because now as an adult, whenever things get crazy, I have retained all this information and I can just jump right into it. Financial, tribulations, I was in, girl, first of all, that's a whole ass other episode. Let's not get into that. The thing is, starting over really is always worth it. If you're ever scared about it, honestly, you could reach out. I can talk about this forever. I don't mind answering any questions. I don't mind hopping on a little call. I genuinely love talking about these things. So if you ever have any questions, please feel free to reach out. But if you're in doubt, girl, do it. Really just sit down, figure out how to do it. It takes time. I am going to start over again at the end of August of 2025, and I have started game planning it a week ago / now. Really 2 days ago. But we're 10 months away from me starting over, but to me that's okay, low-key I feel like I should have been doing it 2 months ago, so I gave myself a full year. But it is what it is. It's not impossible. And yeah, we'll get more into some of the steps that I take to make it all possible. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I'm excited to keep doing these. I really didn't know in what direction I wanted to take these in, but I now know that this is something that I want to do, where I just build a little community where we're growing together. I genuinely feel like I have enough going on in other platforms and other content. If you want to laugh, go on my TikTok. If you know what I mean? There's other media types that I make, and I really want to make a place where we can grow together. I'm constantly working on myself. I'm constantly trying different things, and I don't have a lot of friends, so I don't really talk about these things a lot. So this is going to be the place where I talk about it. If you guys have any questions, again, feel free to reach out. Follow me on TikTok, follow me on Instagram, follow me on all the socials. It's the same all across the board at the Ramone Garcia. And yeah, I will see you guys next Sunday. See you later!